I just always have this image of this sad little girl dealing with her feelings with eating cookies or whatever. And that sad little girl grew up doing the same thing as an adult. She still lived in me. And what a great gift to go back and deal with that younger part of me and allow her the freedom to not be in that terrified state that she was in. I feel so empowered. I can't even tell you.
If we do not go back there and love on this kid, give them what they needed, not conquer them, not fix them, but give them what they needed, feel through all of that, and then all of a sudden things on the surface start to change shape. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I have a very special interview for you because I am chatting with a beautiful soul named Carolyn. Now, here's a little bit of background. I took some notes. Carolyn, when she came to me originally, she thought she was hopeless. Like, her exact words on our consultation was, she said, "Jared, I'm worried it's too late for me, but I trust you. So let's do this." Now, in Carolyn's case, you may relate, she tried it all. She had done Noom, she had slashed her calories, she had done a lot with intermittent fasting, or even just like taking the foods that she felt she couldn't control herself on and banning them from the house. Now, the problem is nothing worked. She still struggled. She even said she would like numb or disassociate with food. So there was lots of food noise, lots of mental and emotional struggles around food, hiding her emotions with food, always thinking about food 24/7, but still never getting to where she wanted to be. And to top it all off, she was in her 60s, right? So, and then makes things even a little bit more tricky. Now, in her case, she's feeling exhausted, thinking about food all day. She's frustrated that nothing worked. And then on top of it, just feeling broken. Now, through talking with her on our call that we first had together, I had no doubt in my mind that we could change everything for her. So I literally told her back in response is, I have no doubt in my mind we can fix this. And the reason is I've seen countless women just like her, or in this case in the quote, just like you, going through this and getting out on the other side. And I meant it. I wasn't just saying that. Now, I'll have her tell her side of the story. But before we get into it, fast forward to now, she has zero emotional eating at all. All food noise and obsession around food are gone. She had to buy all new clothes because the old clothes that were too tight are now too baggy on her. So she had to go buy new ones. She eats her favorite foods daily without the urge to binge or overeat them. Her energy is skyrocketed, again, in her 60s. And her coworkers are constantly asking what she's doing. So now, without further ado, let's talk to Carolyn. Carolyn, welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Feeling great.
Now, you started with originally on the podcast is where like you originally found my stuff, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it weird to be on it now?
It is a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Well, so I always like to give context because one of my biggest pet peeves when people see, let's say people who have had success with in anything, like in any transformation, there's no context around it. They just see like a cool before and after picture or whatever, but they really don't resonate or relate or have any of the picture behind it. So where were things for you to give context before we started working together, where like the struggle was highest? Where talked about that story?
So I'm going to include how I found you. Or how I kind of got turned on to you. I was training for this long bike ride, a 200-mile bike ride in 2 days. And so while I was training, I was listening to your podcasts. And I've always been a good athlete. And I've always been a good eater. I've always eaten good foods. But there was always something about me that was sideways. And there was a lot of like, I don't think I ever told you, but my mom used to own a weight loss business when I was a kid.
I think you mentioned it very early on.
Yeah, it totally messed me up. But yeah. I was one of her clients. It was kind of weird. But anyhow, I knew that there was something wrong. And after I got done with that bike ride, I looked in the mirror and I'm just like, I am so tired of looking like this. And I just thought, I And I had been listening to your podcasts all this time. So that was August. And then September, you had something on Facebook or email about some contest. I knew I wasn't going to win, but I just thought I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And it got me an interview with you. But there's just so many things that, like, a little bit of my stuff that I would do is I would get home from work and I would just, grab some food, not thinking. And then everything I had planned for dinner just was gone. I didn't know how to navigate it. And I would just go, it's just like things would just go so sideways, or I'd eat things at work that I didn't want to eat. And I just was not in control of my eating. And yet I ate healthy and I exercised a lot, but I was never getting anywhere. And when I listened to your podcast, I just kept thinking, this guy has got something that I want. And I didn't know how to really get the gears going just by, like, the first podcast I listened to was food noise. And I think I sent that out to 5 or 6 people to listen to, because it's great. It's right on, but it didn't change my behavior. That was the only issue for me.
Yeah. Well, for you, what about like I know the food noise hit home, but like what about the food noise stuff or any of the inner game concepts hit home for you to make you even want to see about getting this kind of help?
So I have a master's degree in counseling. And so I always know that the change has to be internal. I just didn't know how to get there. And so when I would listen to you, you had really practical thoughts about how to get there. There wasn't anything crazy. Part of it was to deal with your inner child. Part of it was, some of it was just practical that you would talk about.
Sure.
It wasn't rocket science, but I'm trying to recall what specifically, but I just knew that I had to change internally, because all this external stuff I was doing, like trying to do like the big thing I was doing was intermittent fasting. And that never got me to where I wanted to go. And I kept thinking, well, all this data says intermittent fasting does it, and I would do it. And I did it well, but then I still didn't have success. Or I'd have a little bit of success, but I would fall off because I think my blood sugars went up and down.
Sure.
And so when I listened to what you said, it was like, it was so practical. I was like, I knew I needed to change on the inside in order for me to start dealing with my weight loss.
Sure.
Later on, I found out that it's really not about weight loss, it's about fat loss.
Yeah.
And weight loss is kind of under that umbrella,
Right.
but it's really about fat loss.
Yeah. One of my favorite conversations that we've had was where like your scale wasn't moving or whatever. And it was, and you were feeling discouraged because of it. But then you messaged me and you said, my scrubs literally won't stay up right now. I have to get smaller scrubs. And I think that was a pretty big moment for you, because you're like, oh, weight and fat doesn't always correlate. Like I can lose
Right.
I can lose fat without losing weight. And there's more to this than just the number.
Right. Yeah, I have to carry 2 phones. Well, I carry my own phone and I carry the work phone in my back, one in each pocket. And before I started working with you, they were too tight for me to sit down when I started an IV. So I'd always have to I'm a nurse, so I'd have to take the 2 phones out and set them down because they'd practically fall out of my pocket. Now, that's not, it's not an issue. That area of my body is just sagging with my pants. So it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Now, I'm curious when you said, especially before you got deep into this, where we're doing all this inner work, but when you said, like, especially if you put yourself back into the place where before you joined, and you said, I know it's an inner game thing, or I know, especially from like your counseling background, there's a deeper issue. What were you thinking it was? Was it like a food thing? Was it an emotional eating thing? Or did you know it was your inner child, but just not sure how to access that part? What did you mean when you were experiencing when you said that?
Well, I think I told you in either our interview or my first session that food is a very dissociative act for me.
Yeah.
That I'm doing it, and oftentimes I don't even realize what I'm doing. I mean, it's not like I'm, not there. It's just that I'm using it to deal with some emotions, and I'm not even sure what it is.
Mm.
So I knew that I wasn't, there was something wrong with me. And I was always so fascinated with people who eat normal. I'd kind of be like, I'd watch people like not finish their food. And it's really good food. They would just be done. They're full and they're done. And I would just be astounded by that. I'd be like, how do you not finish your plate?
Yeah.
Or how do you, I don't know. Some of the nurses I work with have no food issues. They walk in and there's all these treats. They have no interest in it. And I'm like, I couldn't understand that. And so I knew that I was eating it just for, I think it was just really a way for me to deal with my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And you've said to me on multiple times that you're much more emotionally regulated. And I didn't really understand quite what you meant, but I have really gotten it this last week because I have been paying attention to times when I'm really revved up, like at work where I'm feeling, it's like, okay, no, this is not how I want to be. And I take a moment and I start to bring myself back down. Or I'm aware that today I realized, or yesterday I was really happy about something. And my first response was, oh, I think I'll go eat. And I thought, no, this is, because I hadn't ever been this happy in that long time.
Right.
So I thought, okay, no, just take a minute. And I just kind of did some of the breathing we talked about, worked through it. And I thought, no, it's just, I'll eat when I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to recognize that when I don't need to use food to deal with my emotions, I can actually emotionally regulate myself. And it's really quite, I feel so empowered.
It's good.
I can't even tell you.
Well, it's good because now you have a level of freedom and autonomy. Something I heard, I wish I could take credit for this. I heard it on a podcast yesterday, and the speaker said, when you're triggered, it's a gift because it's showing you where you are not free at. And I go, that's pretty profound. Whether, let's say, some not so nice coworker says something and you get triggered by it. Like if I'm walking through the grocery store and a little girl says, you have purple hair, that doesn't bother me because like I know there's no truth to it and it doesn't affect me. But let's say I get offended by something someone says online that's not very nice and it does trigger me. Well, that tells me there may be a level of truth that I believe that they say that and I might be in denial or it's something I'm not completely free from. And this is why so many people, when they start to get free around food, free around their emotions, free from their body, it's going to be the most empowering feeling because you're not held captive anymore. Whereas most people, and I don't know if you've ever said this or felt like this, but something that I hear a lot of people that I work with say is they're good in most areas in their life, but they're great with their relationships. Their friendships are fantastic. They, with their kids or their spouse, things are good. And they're really driven and successful in their career. But when it comes to this, they're like, it's just like a ball and chain. They're like, I can't escape this. And it dampers everything because when you start to, especially when we get into emotional eating where you're numbing, you can't just pick and choose what you become numb to. You can't numb to fear, worry, and doubt and somehow hit heights of happy, joy, and grateful. Where if you're emotionally numbing, it's just flatlining everything a little bit. So it makes so much sense as to why you're feeling so good now is because you actually have broken free from that, which the thing that makes me so excited is you're now in a place that you're catching and recognizing and almost coaching yourself where you felt yourself feeling really good and happy. But then part of you is like, let's go eat. And you're like, wait a second, why am I suppressing this? Well, you caught that pattern before the action started to get in gear, because I think people have there's a facade of, all our problems will go away, where it's not your problems go away. It's that you're aware enough now and have a toolbox on what to do with those problems so they don't take you down under, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I hadn't even thought about that. That's neat.
You're too humble is what it is, Carolyn. That's what it is. For you, when it comes to like more in the process stuff, because I think, like when we were like deep in all of it, for you, What felt different about this process versus some of the other attempts you've tried to get to where you want to be?
Everything. So, like the newest, the most recent thing I had done, I'm always trying to do intermittent fasting. So there's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Noom, I did that for a while. And then I found that if I was over their calories, because they gave me exercise points, I'd be up riding a bike until whenever, trying to get my calories down, because I think they put me at, I don't know, 1,700 calories or something. I don't know. And they were always telling me what to do. Well, you don't tell me what to do. You give me this guideline, but you have, it's more holistic. So, I mean, in the programs that I watched on some of these apps, they're really kind of silly. I mean, I just would be like, but and on the last one I got, it was called Lose It. So you could track your calories. You were on that.
Yeah.
So I scrolled down, I found you, and I thought dieting from the inside out reminded me of a book called Changing from the Inside Out. And so I was like, and I loved that book. And so I was like, I knew that's what I wanted. So I found you, but I was a little thrown off. I mean, just everything, like the amount of calories you said I could eat. I thought you made a mistake. And then the protein totally threw me off, because I think I told you, I think you initially put me at 150, and I said, I don't think I can do 150. So you knocked it down to 100, which I'm now no problem. But at first it was like, I didn't have to worry about the calories when we started out. You just said, I just want to get a feel for this. But at the same time, I'm a very competitive person, so I wanted to do this. So I was trying to get that all I focused in was the protein. I didn't care about calories, carbohydrates, fats. All I cared was how do I get 100 grams of protein in? I think you really threw me off, because when I was telling you about my job, because I don't eat until about 9, my first meal of the day. And you said, but I'm pretty ramped up with my job, because it's pretty high intensity. It's great, but it's very focused. So for me now to kind of tone down and have a meal, even though I'm super hungry, was hard for me to deal with this internal world of mine. And you said, well, why don't you do some breathing? And I thought, Jared, you don't have any idea what you're talking about. I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're my coach. Okay, I'll listen.
That's right.
And I've been coached enough in life that I'm going to do what my coach says. And so I started doing it. I was like, this makes a difference. And I am actually starting to do my deep breathing now when I'm warming up my food. I'm already downshifting before I even sit down to have a meal. And so anyhow, what else is different?
Well, hey, I want to stay on this for a second, because I think the context is important. I don't know if you know this or not, but the reason that's what I had you do, whereas it seems like a habit out in left field. It's like, why would that do anything? Well, and here's what happens is, for you from the very beginning, like you said, that food has always been been a very dissociated thing for you. And because the nature of your job specifically, you're so focused and so like you're doing all the crazy stuff with patients, and you're just like, go, 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 break, eat, go back to go, 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 go. So from a nervous system response, it's normal when you put on your scrubs. It's just like the police officer puts on their uniform, they're in that mode, or the dog gets the leash and it means we're going. Whereas there's neurological associations happening in early on, because food was you just go numb, right? You just kind of, it's easy to check out with that, or hide your emotions with food. So I know the first thing we needed to do is I had to get you back in your body. Well, the number one easiest and fastest way, that's not weird, like, cause you don't want to like be in your guys' break room and like doing weird, like chants and like whatever. I just knew I needed to get you back in your body, cause you're in your head or on autopilot. And the easiest way to, without making a scene, to influence your nervous system is control your breath. So that's why I go, hey, before we start eating, I want you to do some really big, deep breath work. And all of a sudden your nervous system's like, oh, we're safe now. Oh, food tastes better. Oh, I'm not on autopilot. And that's why the goal was to just put something in that one spot right where you needed it that calmed everything down. That way you could take your however long, 15, 20, 30 minutes for your break and actually be able to eat and enjoy before you go back to saving the world. So.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I was so skeptical at first.
Good.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. Most people
Yeah,
are, to be fair.
yeah, yeah, I mean, and then your lessons were of quality. Whereas a lot of the programs I've been in, like I said, I don't want to name, down talk any of them, but I never connect it to them. Whereas yours really about dealing with this inside of us, and some of it's practical, like the door frame method or the T method.
Yeah.
What's in your control, what's out of your control. I think recording my wins was big.
Yeah.
I think journaling. I was always a journaler, but you kind of you kind of got me to go deeper with my journaling, and that was really good. I think too, the coaching for me, because I had the privilege of having one-on-one coaching. I know some people can't do that, but I do think this is available for people who are doing the collective. Is I remember being really out of control one night, and I sent you a message, and you said, go journal.
I remember.
And yeah, I went and journaled, and I was like, wow, I could not believe what I had buried inside of me. And I felt like all the food stuff just went away, and that what was inside was the focus, and it was just so cleansing and powerful. And I think I think later I told you, what had come up for me and what I was pushing down so tightly, and it needed to come up. It felt great.
Most people forget and don't realize that the problem isn't actually the problem. It's either a mask or it's the relationship with the thing. Like, people are baffled, like, with the concept of food noise, obsessive thoughts around food, emotional eating, binge eating, a horrible relationship, all that stuff. So much of it isn't the actual problem. It's the alarm bell that there's something deeper. So, like, the emotional eating was, I remember one of the things that early on is it was all around the emotional stuff. Whereas I just knew if I could get you to start feeling your emotions and actually be in a space of love for them and holding space and letting them come through you, your emotional eating would disappear quickly. And that's what happened is because the food was just a mask to, like, not see or feel these things. And most people don't realize that that's a subconscious thing. Most people have spent years masking or years, like, not looking at this. And the ego is so good at making it feel like a productive thing to do. Like I talk about in my story, whereas before I understood what was going on with my emotions, I was emotionally productive. I didn't want to deal with my own anxiety, stress, and unworthiness that I didn't want to look at. So I built a business. I would do content till 3 a.m. I would be working nonstop because I didn't want to deal with what was inside, but I didn't realize that was a thing. I was unaware. I was suppressing until I had a mentor of mine share that. And I'm like, oh no. And then I did the work to fix it. But we can't escape a jail we don't know we're trapped in. And for you, that's like when you said I've started actually sitting in stillness via journaling, breath work, meditation, whatever the tool is. And just like you said, the food issues, the food noise, the obsessive thoughts, all that just fell off. It's because they were never the problem. They were a side effect of the problem. Like, I compare it to a smoke alarm. Imagine your smoke alarm going off at 3 a.m. and not even thinking of fire. You go, I better shut that thing off, versus like, oh, that's going off because there's a fire somewhere. Let's just go put the fire out and the smoke alarm shuts off on its own. It's the same thing with this food stuff, is the way I view it.
It's the food noise is so gone that I had completely forgot I had this huge cupboard full of all this cookies and chocolate that when people give it to me, I stash it in there and thinking I'll eat it later. I had forgotten about it. I have cartons of ice cream in my freezer that I'm thinking maybe I should just give it away, but before I would have they would have all been gone.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have gone through multiple cartons by this time in my life.
Sure.
I really just don't even think about them. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not like I can't have them. I just put them into my, food journal, but
Yep.
it just, that noise isn't round around. Oh, I don't have the ice cream calling me or the chocolate calling me, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, it's really interesting. And the other thing I've noticed too is this internal peace that I've not encountered before. Whereas now that the weather's so nice, I sit outside and I just feel so calm inside. And it's really nice.
Yeah.
So your work is so holistic that and it's bigger than you too, because you encourage us to get counseling. You even say, people think exercise is therapy. Exercise is not therapy. Therapy is therapy. And so I wound up reconnecting with a therapist, and she and I have done some really powerful work and healing some of my childhood trauma, and working through that has just been amazing.
Yeah.
So
I think it was early on. I think it was even on our initial conversation about even potentially looking at working together. I chuckled internally, not in like a disrespectful way, but oh, she doesn't know. When you said, because around the food stuff, where like most people who are deep in the trenches of uncontrolled around food, they feel like they are in a 1,000-foot deep hole. It is like, there's no way I'm going to be able to climb out of this. And when you said, man, I don't know if this will ever work, I think I might be too far gone. And I'm just like, like obviously that's not the moment to like chuckle, because it's a very serious thing. But internally, my thought was like, oh, she doesn't know. And that's why, like, because the truth is, if I didn't think I could, if I wasn't fully convinced I could help you, we wouldn't have started. But how does it feel for you? Like looking back, thinking hopeless of like, this is not in the cards for me. And now you're like, I've got 5 months worth of ice cream that I forgot I had in my freezer because it doesn't call my name anymore.
right. It's incredible. I had a colleague earlier this week. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. She came up. She says, "You look fantastic." And I said, and I'm in scrubs, that are big on me. And I said, thank you. And I kind of told her about you and our work. And I said, what's really interesting is this is a lifetime thing. It just feels so solid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not hard once you get it. At first it's really it feels complicated at first, journaling, writing down my wins, whatever, getting that protein. But now it's just like, it's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. It's not easy. But the other way was worse.
Yeah. It's simple though. It's simple now.
It's simple. Yeah. And it feels like, I was thinking today when I weighed myself, how I really was so obsessed with the scale before. I really don't care about the scale that much anymore.
Good.
And it's nice that my life is not ruled by the scale. It's really, it's neat. It's just, I don't know. Neat doesn't capture it.
Sure.
That's a silly word. It's amazing.
The thing that makes me happiest about all this is we did all of this without avoiding the thing. A lot of people will go, oh, I don't think about ice cream anymore because they just literally exiled it from their life. Or they go, oh, the scale doesn't rule me anymore because they haven't weighed themselves in 3 years. Or whatever the thing is, but you've gotten to this point where you went through it. You didn't go around it. You didn't avoid it. It's why there's this internal piece, is because you actually, like, maybe this is a lack of a better term, you slayed the actual dragon versus just avoided the dragon. Whereas a lot of people, the reason they gain and lose is because they don't actually heal through the problem. They just avoid the problem, and then later on it comes back. They just throw away the scale so they're not triggered until they go for their annual checkup, and then all of a sudden they have a freak out moment because they weighed, because they never fixed it. Or they haven't binged because they literally only keep chicken and rice in their house, and they exiled their favorite foods from their life, but then they go to the party or the get together or the pitch, and then it's a free for all. Or they just stay so busy they don't have a chance to emotionally eat, but they're still emotionally suppressing, versus My goal, and this is why I have no doubt in my mind that you're going to continue to be successful at this, is because you've gotten to the root cause of it and it's just like, think of medically, if you're helping on a surgery and they actually remove the tumor, or they actually put the broken bones back aligned, well, then you got to the root cause of it. And now it's good forever. We're not just dealing with side effects. That's why I don't care about a lot of the surface level stuff. I just go, let's just go straight to your brain. Let's go straight to the stuff you're avoiding. Let's go actually heal this thing. And then it's a lot to deal with, but then everything is so much better once you get over that mountain. So.
Yeah, I think, it was interesting I knew it was going to cost a lot, and I just didn't know how much, so I was like, Jared, I just don't ever spend that kind of money on myself. And I thought, Carolyn, you can run around in circles and keep trying to make this work. Or this guy that you've been listening to for the last 4 months on podcasts, give him a shot.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I have absolutely no regrets. And I don't think I've ever told anybody how much I've spent on this. And I haven't even really tracked it, to be honest.
It's a lot.
It is, but my friends just say, everybody, my family, they love how I look. My friends I've confided in, they'll say, you are worth every penny of it. And that, it almost makes me cry, because I really believe I am.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, I can't say that I did. I just always kind of saved and tried to be there for people. And it's like, it has meant so much to me. It's been worth every penny of it.
And I appreciate that. And I don't take it lightly being on this journey with you. It's interesting. You're the kind of person that like spends their life filling others' cups. And I know people aren't they aren't even seeing the what do you call it? They're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with this, but having worked so deep with you over the last 6, 7, 8 months or whatever, like you are the person that like everyone needs in their life. Like I told you off camera, I said, if I'm ever like in the hospital, I hope to God I have someone like you. Like, you know what I mean? Cause you're just this beaming bright light. Actually, it's ironic. I was chatting with my wife today. We were walking into the gym and we just talked about what we have on the roster for the day, like what we're doing. And I mentioned that I had this interview and I go, and I said, the best way I can, she goes, oh yeah, like, what about Carolyn? Cause she doesn't know, like anyone like that I work with. And I go, the best way I can put it is Carolyn is just an angel of a human. And that's the way that I like, and I feel like that doesn't even do justice, but like, I feel like that's the best way I could like describe the kind of human you are. And so if anyone deserves to have this kind of stuff happen, of course it's you. You know what I mean? So without a doubt.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Of course. For you, I'm curious, when it comes, even now that, since you brought that up, what made you overcome that hurdle? Because for most people, when it comes especially to the money side of things, most people, don't believe they're worth investing in, so they don't. Even if they are, they don't feel like it, or they spend so much time spending the same amount of money, but it's not all at once, or it's over the course of several years on stupid stuff so they don't think about it. But whenever it comes to this kind of thing, especially when there's that hesitancy, which I think is good, to be honest, whenever someone doesn't have some hesitancy investing in themselves, I actually see red flags, because when someone's hesitant, I see that as they care about their time, they care about their money, and they care about what they put their resources into. But that's one of the biggest things of all the most successful people I've worked with is they've been like, I think I want to, there's that initial like sigh. But for you, what made you overcome that? Because I know you and I don't play hardball with sales. So what made you overcome that?
Well, one, I was familiar with you, and I think I told you during our first interview that I thought you had a heart of gold. Yeah. I knew you really cared about people who struggled with weight. That, there's so many people out there, and you see them. I don't think you see them as these fat, disgusting people. I think you understand that it's this problem, that their internal world. And I when I listened to you, I just told you have a heart of gold. The other thing is that and then maybe it got triggered through some of your podcasts or just thinking is, some really shitty things happened to me when I was a kid. some adults did some really horrible things to me. And I thought, isn't it time to undo that trauma? That because I used food, amongst other things I had used to, do some self-harm, so to speak. But I found food, and I just always have this image of this sad little girl dealing with her feelings with eating cookies or whatever. And that sad little girl grew up doing the same thing as an adult. And it's just been kind of neat to still love that part of me, the sad girl and the adult woman, but to know that now I've given them a gift that we're not living there anymore. We're now living here. And it was like, I think I told you that it's time. And so, yeah, I think just the listening to you and understanding your heart, and this is it. And I just thought it was so wonderful you did this podcast. I was like, it's giving this gift to so many people. I was always sharing your podcast with people and saying, you guys should listen to him. I said, he does swear a lot.
I do swear a lot.
I said, but he has a heart of gold and he's really smart.
He's got a heart of gold, but a mouth of rust. It's terrible. That's funny. Well, I appreciate that. That's super sweet of you. And it just goes back to one of the most, it's like there's these moments in our lives where like one sentence was just like, that is never going to leave me, or that made such a profound impact. One of the ones I heard, I don't even know who I heard it from. It was years ago, but it was the concept of, to heal the man, you must heal the little boy. To heal the woman, you must heal the little girl. And that was just mind boggling when I heard that. And then as I got into this work, because I've been doing this for a while, it's been like 15 years coaching people. And it hasn't always been this deep. It started off as like a personal trainer teaching people how to squat, but it's so fascinating that like so many of these issues that come up, myself included, happen when we were little and defenseless, and psychology did what psychology does. And we found a really effective coping mechanism. But if we do not go back there and love on this kid, give them what they needed, not conquer them, not fix them, but give them what they needed, feel through all of that, and then all of a sudden things on the surface start to change shape. It's what's missing, the missing piece. This is why when people say working out's my therapy, I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't even understand. Forget, people don't need PhDs in psychology. Just go do some bicep curls, bro. Like that doesn't even make sense. So yeah, that's amazing. For you, was there any other like mental, like aha moments for you that came up? I know we talked about a lot, but is there any other top of mind that were like, oh, this thing made the big difference or anything like that?
Well, I think, it's funny. It's all been gradual for me, Jared.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
sure.
Even some of Grant's podcasts really made sense. Like his thing on protein, that protein was blowing me away. So he had
Grant's
that thing on how to do and after that I started to soar. But everything has been this slow shift. And that's why I don't think people who have seen me day to day know I've really how much my body has changed. But people haven't seen me in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wow, you've really changed, because I've exceeded what I had talked to you about doing.
Yeah.
And I haven't been, and in fact, I've not been this weight for years, and I'm fitting into clothes that were my dream clothes that I'm finally getting back into. I'm just like, but I think it's just all been so gradual. You went very slow with me, and I'd listen to the lessons, and I'd work the program, and there was, I think one time I thought you were a little, what is that, snake? Because I was like, I am not changing. I've spent all this money. I'm not changing. And then I realized, well, okay, I really am changing. But because yours is not this fast solution.
No.
Like you said something recently about 12 weeks versus 12 months, that you can get these big results maybe in 12 weeks, but it's about the long haul.
Yeah, for sure.
And all of a sudden something shifted in my brain. I'm not going for the 12 weeks anymore.
Mm-mm.
I am going for I'm thinking about what I'm going to look like in a year, because I still have some more to go. And, but I'm also at peace. If I don't, I'm pretty happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty content with my body, and so grateful for how strong it is and what it does for me. Um, and I don't know. And I'm so grateful I can eat as much food as I can.
Yeah.
You
Well,
let me eat so much food, I just get blown
well,
away.
it's in here. One of my personal, like, if I had to narrow down, like, my coaching philosophies, one of which is eat as much as possible while staying in line with the goals, whether maintain, lose, whatever. It's why, like, one of the first things is we got to test your caloric tolerance. Most people, like, it's no wonder they have a horrible relationship with food if they're eating a third of what they could. Whereas while we're not losing weight and focusing on the inner game, let's see how much we can get you to eat without gaining weight. And that's when you're like, I can't believe I'm eating this much, or you're having my calories so high. Meanwhile, your clothes are falling off of you, which tells me you're still in a deficit. So let's crank those numbers up even more. And then before we know it, then when it's time to drop, your numbers post dropped are lower than you've ever had, or I'm sorry, are higher than when you've ever had them. And that's one of the things. It's like, we got to make this sustainable and doable. But like you said, it's like this process is so slow, or this is like when the scale wouldn't move or whatever is. I always I've been using the term lately, delayed mirror, whereas our results are just a delayed mirror of everything. Whereas it takes some time to build momentum and consistency, but then your external is also a delayed mirror of your internal. If you have a horrible relationship with food, if you are not emotionally regulated, you run to food to cope, you have horrible beliefs and identities, you feel uncontrolled. Yeah, your outside is going to reflect that, which is going to be not the look what most people are going for. This is why it's not a matter of fixing your inner game and then you never get results. It's like, it's a byproduct. You can't not fix your relationship with food, become emotionally regulated, get free around food, and fix your identity, and your outside not change. It's impossible. So, but when you fix that stuff, it's permanent. You know what I mean? So
It does. That is exactly how it feels. It feels permanent to me. I have a very close friend who said to me the other day, well, all you have to do, the way to lose weight is eat less. And because of the nature of the relationship, I didn't want to say, well, how's that working for you? Because it's not.
Yeah.
And but I think a lot of people are afraid to do the inner game. Even when I worked as a therapist, you do have to face some things that have been suppressed or hidden away, but it's the greatest gift because those things are never going to go away. And it's like that younger Carolyn, like the most recent trauma I shared with you, I think I was like 11, 12. She still lived in me. She was still traumatized. And what a great gift to go back and deal with that younger part of me and allow her the freedom to not be in that terrified state that she was in.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, so your whole program it's amazing. I go gently with people to try to tell them about it because people are pretty entrenched in intermittent fasting and they're not willing to let a lot of what they believe is weight loss, let that go yet. And so I just figure in the long haul, I'm going to win this battle with them. They're going to continue to see my success, my peace with food, my abundance in eating and go, okay, what is she doing? And maybe some people might want to take that plunge and do some deeper work. I just wish there were more people like you.
Me too. I appreciate
that. I feel like why this has been missing in the weight loss program, the business. What you are doing is so unique. I just want more people helping people because I see so many struggle with weight and I yearn for them to not have to deal with it.
Yeah. I think I think it's getting better. More and more time I see other people and coaches talk I can literally picture faces of colleagues of mine that I know that they were like a year or two ago, they were talking, eat less, move more, work harder. And now they're like, how's your relationship with food? Let's find ways to cope other than eating. And so I think that corner is being turned. But I still think it's going to be a little while longer because diet culture, but you know, we're working on it. So for you, so to get a little tactical, what are, was there any other major things that you found was extra helpful on your journey, that would have been helpful to listen to before, like when you were like, forget coaching for a second, just when you were in the trenches of struggle, knowing what you know now, was there any, whether things that we did or perspective shifts or anything that was really instrumental to you that old Carolyn would have benefited from hearing?
Honestly, I don't know, Jared. I always feel like there's a time and season for everything.
Sure.
And I was so ready. I don't know that old Carolyn was entrenched in all the old ways, like I said, intermittent fasting. That was my big one.
Yeah.
Counting calories. Because all the data out there was saying that was what you do. And I think, I don't know. That's a hard question for me to answer.
Sure.
I think you came into my life at the right time. I had hours riding on a bike to listen to your podcast. I mean, I listened to other podcasts.
Sure.
You weren't the only thing in my life.
That's right.
But it was like I just think there's a time and season for things, and I was just ready. So yeah, what would old Carolyn want? Just to know that this craziness could end.
That the hope was there, that there's a possibility.
Yeah, there was hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it felt kind of frustrating. This cycle. I just was always on this cycle.
You know, most people, it's interesting. Most people tell me, they go, like, they just assume, I'm glad you mentioned that. Most people assume that the food noise, weight gain, struggling on, off, so many people are just assume and believe that's just what happens. You know, and because they don't know any better. Like, for example, I compare it to like my marriage, actually. Like I'll let's say I'm out and about or I'm at an event and I hear people talking bad about like their wife and they're like saying all these things. They're like they're manipulative or she's just gripes and like, or the like so ungreat, like all the negative things in there. But then they go, this is just how it's supposed to be. I had a guy say that to my face. He goes, he had a horrible marriage, lots of lying, lots of deceit on both sides. And he literally said, but that's just what happens when you get married. And I internally thought, this poor man doesn't know better. He actually believes that this is just how marriage is supposed to be. Now, I see my relationship and it's like the 180. It is the best relationship in the world. And I go, but it's because of my experience. I go, oh, and if that's all he knows, I can almost see like, oh, this is all this guy's ever seen. But I think so many people come up in a diet culture place the same way is because I've seen how great a marriage can be. I look at everything through that lens. I'm like, oh, like everyone should see and have what I have. But I also see it the same thing with this, where like most people see this game of weight loss and food noise and struggle. And they go, this is just how this is just how it is. You're supposed to gain weight as you get older. You're supposed to feel uncontrolled around food. It's just once you start, you can't stop. I'm supposed to be addicted. You're supposed to all this stuff. But now that because you saw somewhere another side, you go, oh, there's another reality. And then now you're giving others that reality. It's so crazy. I see so many people who will hear an interview like this. And this was the hope that they go, oh, if she can do it, maybe there's hope for me, which is why I wanted you to come on, is because you're the only one that can have your experiences. And I know for a fact, after people listen to this, they're going to go, I see myself in her. Oh, I felt the same way. I used to do the same thing. Oh, I'm just like that. I just thought this is how it's supposed to be. Maybe if Carolyn can escape this, I can escape it too. So.
Absolutely. It really changed the trajectory of my journey in many ways, Jared, many ways. I mean, it's so holistic. I can't even tell you. So, but I'm going to be going to my 45th high school graduation.
Let's go.
Can you believe it? Wow.
Let's go.
Let's go. And it will be interesting, I don't mean to be like, but I just know because I take care of so many patients who are my age on tons of meds, obesity, diabetes. And I think to myself, it'll be interesting to see people because every day you make certain decisions and you're creating this trajectory for the rest of your life. And you have course corrected me. So now I'm on, not that I don't kind of go off a little bit, but I also know when I reflect at night, but there's, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be right on track.
Yeah.
I'll reflect what went
Sure.
wrong during the day.
You're,
Where did I go a little
yeah.
haywire? But then I go back and I just think people are making, you just create this trajectory that a lot of lives can live in. And I'm not trying to sell your program at all.
Sure.
It really just worked for me. And I don't know if maybe for other people, the intermittent fasting and juicing and whatever, will work for them. I don't know, but just for me, all that did not work.
Yeah. To be honest, and again, I'm sure there's small populations or minorities of people that some of those things will work, but the way that I view it, and this is the how I summarize a lot of it, is most people are taking surface level solutions to an inner game issue. And it's like taking a knife to a gunfight, and it's never going to work. You can, it's interesting. I'll see like one of my nieces and they're real little, like 3, 2, 4, like real little. And they are shoving the square peg into the round hole. And the harder they shove it, the more frustrated they get, the more damaged the toy gets, and the more spiral that happens emotionally, because they're like, this should work. Why isn't this working? And then eventually they go, I don't want it anymore. But that's what children do. But most people are doing the same thing here. They have inner game issues, masking it with food, hoping it'll go get better. Or they have a horrible relationship with food. Let me just starve myself to fat loss, or let me just exile my favorite things in the world from my life. And then the more you push and force things like that, and that you take a wrong level solution to a problem, grinding happens, breakdown happens, damage happens, and then one thing leads to another, then things get really bad. So that's why I think the whole point of my life's work is just to stop taking surface level solutions to inner game issues and just go down to where the stuff stems from. And you've been just a testament of that. And I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's fun to be successful. And I will say that I tend to be I'm one of those people who I'm very successful in my life. I did well in college, career, whatever. And yet this one area, I was not having success. And so, it's been a blessing. I'm delighted with, every day I'm just delighted. I at first looked at myself in the mirror a lot. I was like, wow, it's just kind of fun. But now I'm getting used to it, right?
So new body.
It's not so big of a deal, but I was like, wow, it's just neat.
Yeah.
It makes me feel so good. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. What would you say to anybody that's sitting on the fence right now that's like, I know I should, but it's scary. And what would you say to that person who's like on the edge of wanting to see about getting help, whether coaching or the collective or whatever? What would you say to that person right now?
I know money's a deal, but I know he's got the collective, and I've not attended as many sessions as I could now that I've switched to the collective. But Jared has a heart of gold. He really wants to help you. And the program isn't just for one person. It's not a one size for one person. It fits many people. So the cost, if you can do the coaching, and if you have availability, because that is pretty fun to work with Jared. But the collective is also very powerful. And I've kind of listened to the other people or heard what they say, and there's such a quality of people in there on the same path. So we're all in this together, and you might be really surprised, and you are worth the money. You may not believe it, but you are worth the money.
That's so good. Carolyn, thank you so much for doing this. Like literally from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate this. This has been incredible. And it's been an honor this entire time. It's been amazing. Like getting to know you, becoming friends with you, coaching you, and being part of this. It's been incredible on my end. So I appreciate that. So
yeah, you're welcome, Jared. It's been fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. My goal with this episode is I just wanted this to change your perspective a little bit. I honestly really wanted to just give you hope and change the way you think about some of this stuff, and maybe even see a little bit of yourself in Carolyn and have a change internally that goes, maybe I can do this too. If Carolyn could do this, I could do this. Oh, there is hope for me. Because I talk to so many people every day that feel hopeless, and I hate it and it breaks my heart. And there's no reason you can't have results just like Carolyn, if not even more, and continue on and make everything change for you and your family. Now, if that's the case, but you're not quite sure how to go about that, or you would like to have the kind of help and support Carolyn had, the framework she talked about, the support, the accountability, and the overall help and coaching that she got, you can always apply for coaching below or go join my coaching group down in the description. I'll leave all the info down there below. Otherwise, there's no reason you can't have the results Carolyn had. But at the end of the day, it takes you being receptive and ready. And that was the big thing with Carolyn, is she was receptive. She was ready. She knew the road ahead was not going to be easy, but she was coachable and ready to change. And that's why she had such great results, because you combine that level of readiness and coachability with the right plan, the right coaching, the right frameworks, and the right strategy and overall system. And it's impossible not to be astronomically successful. So if you would like the same kind of help Carolyn had, just hit the link below and we'll get you taken care of. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode for another week, and I will talk to you next time.